Hi everyone, it's been a while. This weekend I'm at the Boston Mills Art Fest in Northern Ohio and thought I'd put together a video. The theme for the video? Questions. More specifically, some of the, let's just say more interesting questions I've been asked in the almost 5 years I've been selling my work. What questions are those? You'll find out after the title screen. Before I get started, I want to clarify a couple of things. First, this video is not being made to belittle or demean anybody who has ever come to my booth over the years. I love all the conversations I have with the people I meet. Everybody has been wonderful and I appreciate the support that you show. As someone who suffers from social anxiety, I know well enough how difficult it can be to hold a conversation and how sometimes you will just blurt out the first semi-coherent thing that comes to mind. And I certainly know that I have asked my fellow artists some amazingly dumb questions about their art. I also know that not all patrons of art festivals understand what is required of us as artists to apply for and attend these art festivals. This can certainly explain some of the questions I will discuss in this video. So perhaps this video can be used as a lighthearted educational piece for you all. With that, let's get into the questions. So the first question has been asked to me in a couple of different ways, and it does kind of make me laugh in that why would I be there if it weren't the case? The question being, did you take these photos yourself? It is usually a requirement for most art festivals that you are the artist who created the art or took part in the creation of the art. I can't just find a bunch of pictures online and put them to metal prints and sell other people's work. That's just not how it works, and I would rightfully be kicked out of all art festivals if I tried to do that, so please don't try to sell other people's work. But yes, all the art that you see on my walls or in my print bins are indeed the work of myself. The next question is actually kind of three different questions that sort of all fit in the same area. So I'll go over each individual question, but then we'll kind of at the end discuss why it's a little bit of a weird question. So the first of the question is kind of the overarching question discussing this sort of area is that, have you been to a lot of these places? The second question in this sort of area, it was in regard to my picture Schwabacher Landing. The question asked to me was, have you been there? And the final of the three questions in this sort of group of questions is in regard to my picture of the Eiffel Tower, where I was asked, did you go to France to take this picture? These three questions are probably kind of related to the first question that we discussed, in that because I am the person who has to take these pictures, I then would necessarily have to be physically present at these locations that I take the pictures of. So the answer to these questions is, yes, I have been to all these places. Yes, indeed, I have been to the Grand Tetons, and of course, I have been to France more than once. So the first two groups of questions were more about the logistics of taking the photographs. The third question maybe is a little bit more philosophical, if you want to think of it this way. The question being, are these photographs? While I wish I had other types of artistic talent such as painting, drawing, sculpting, things of that nature, I ended up being a photographer. While some of my photographic prints, especially when put on metal, can give off a different type of artistic vibe, they are indeed photographs. And as the name of my business is James Rost Photography, it should also stand to reason that everything that I do is based in photography. This final question isn't so much a question, or even a question at all, but it's something that I've heard over and over again as people come into my booth and look at certain pieces of my art. And as someone who comes from the western part of the United States, I actually find it very funny every time that I hear it. What is it? Hey, look, the Grand Canyon. Ooh, the Grand Canyon. Wow, the Grand Canyon. Ooh, the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is a pretty unique geological feature, so it does make me laugh anytime anybody sees a canyon of any sort and just says, hey, it's the Grand Canyon. With that said, as someone that comes from the west part of the United States, if you were to start pointing out different lighthouses to me, I wouldn't recognize the difference between those at all. So, all's fair. but still, not everything's the Grand Canyon. So those were some of the questions that I've been asked frequently that I've always thought were kind of funny or interesting. However, I didn't want this to be just about me. So I decided I would take the opportunity to ask some of my fellow artists at the show this weekend what were some of the more silly or interesting questions they've been asked over the course of their career. I am here with the very talented artist behind Rooted Pigment. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Julie. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to see you again. We met in Columbus, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So I'm doing a video on weird, maybe silly questions that customers have asked artists. Do you have anything you would like to share?
Oh, yeah. So I have people that come in and say, well, did you get this at the hardware store, this wood? And I said, no, I go through specialty cabinet makers and specialty wood suppliers, and they're like, oh, well, I can just go to Lowe's and get that myself and paint that, paint some trees on it and it'll be just like yours.
I'm sure that you do a much better job.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
The proof that she's good at what she does. A very special thank you to Julie for sharing her story with us. Appreciate that. Next month I will be doing a trip somewhere and I will be videotaping those adventures. Where am I going? Make sure to stay tuned and find out. Until then, I wish you all the very best.